Hello and welcome to this edition of Minstrels on the Block, where we bring you the finest singer-songwriters in the Valley area. This week's special guest is Mr. Joe McClure. Joe, how you doing?
Brian, I'm doing great.
Great to have you on the show finally.
Thanks for having me. It's
Oh,
good to
my
be here.
pleasure. So tell me about yourself, Joe. Where were you born?
Columbus, Georgia.
Awesome.
St. Francis Hospital.
What did your parents do?
I grew up in the radio business. My dad owned and ran radio stations, and first half of my life was spent in radio at WCGQ, WRCG, Kissin, Boomer.
Tell me a little bit about that, your experiences in the radio station.
Well, I grew up thinking I would spend the rest of my life in the radio business. I loved it, worked in it for, I got paid to work in it for about 20 years.
Nice.
And after that, we sold the stations, and it was time to find something else to do.
Oh, I see. So now, tell me a little bit about your parents. Your dad on the radio station. Mm-hmm. What'd your mom do?
Mom took care of us kids and did lots of volunteer work. She's she's an actress.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very
so
cool.
She's real involved with the Springer and working down there. So.
Cool. Now, were your parents musical? Now, you would think that with your dad owning a radio station, he'd probably rock out on Saturday nights, but that's not necessarily a given. Did you come from a musical family?
Not really. I remember music started later in my life. Mm-hmm. Actually, when I got out of radio, I started writing some poems, and they became songs, and just really got involved that way. Mm-hmm. My parents, as kids, made my brother and sister take piano, and they were older than me. So I was the youngest, and by the time I came along, they were tired of making people take music. So I thought it was a great thing, but now I really wish I had started back then.
What sucks as a kid is invaluable when you're an adult.
That's true. That's a
So now, what kinds of music were important to you when you were a kid? What were your early influences music-wise?
Wow, when I was a kid, let's see, 6th grade, it was all about the Beatles. Mm-hmm. And I was in a carpool with 4 girls. And I was the only guy, and I hated the Beatles because they were all about George and Paul and John and Ringo, and it was... So I really didn't like the Beatles at that point. Later on in high school and college, I really loved the Beatles because I didn't have the little girls screaming all the time. But I love the Beatles. I love... Later in college, I love America and Crosby, Stills and Nash, and
great
Neil Diamond, John Denver, those kind of people really love that music.
So now, tell me about, you said you got out of radio, you started writing poems and things. Tell me a little bit about that. What drove you to write the poems?
Well, getting out of radio and the sale of the radio stations was really a big change for me. It was, I looked for direction, looked for what else to do. Yeah. So I chose my 2 passions. One is the outdoors, and hiking and backpacking and rock climbing. And so I bought Outdoor World.
Oh, okay.
At Wickham's, the old Wickham's Outdoor World. Mr. Wickham sold it to me, and we tried to make a go of that for 6 or 7 years, and finally realized that the outdoors was my passion, but I was spending all my time in the store.
Yeah, kind of oxymoron.
So ended up going out of business at the store, and decided music was my other passion. Mm-hmm. So in that big change, it was good therapy for me to write. Mm-hmm. And every time I wrote, being in radio all my life and dealing with the music there in the radio business, every time I wrote a poem, I could hear a song with it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it just developed into writing songs. And one night at the Loft closed for a period of time back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I wrote a song called Empty Stage. Wow. And decided that I needed to sing that song that night the Loft closed. And it was the first time I ever sang in front of anybody.
Wow.
Ever. I didn't sing in the shower at that point. I just was writing music. Yeah. And so Rebecca Harris told me I needed to sing that song. Mm-hmm. So I got up in front of everybody, I sang that song, and I've been hooked ever since. It was a great experience and meant a lot to me, and and seemed to mean a lot to other people. They seemed to identify with it and identify with me. So that's why I'm here today.
Now, tell me a little bit about that as far as, was that time on stage what made you decide, wow, I want to keep doing this?
I guess it was more the feeling of community and sharing part of myself. The songs I write are important to me. They come from me, and they come from, obviously, to me, a higher source than just me. And so in having connection with other people, if other people get the song, then that just brings up all this happiness in me. You know, it just means that I'm identifying with other people and they're identifying with me, and it's a way of connecting with the rest of the world to me.
Greatest hope for a songwriter, that someone will get it.
Yeah.
Now, continuing on, what inspires you to write? What are your writing influences, basically? What do you write from?
Life inspires me. Meeting new people who have interesting stories, and actually listening to them and paying attention, just paying attention to life. You know, I've got some relatively new grandkids, and they're great inspiration. They are so innocent and young and wonderful. And then seeing my kids move into, you know, where I was 20 years ago, and that's an inspiration. I spent some time out west this past summer and met some really interesting characters out there, and get some good songs from that. Oh
yeah, I can imagine. Going back a little bit, tell me a little bit about your learning an instrument, learning guitar, that sort of thing.
Well, I always say I learned to play the guitar because I couldn't get the guitar player to show up for open mic.
Nothing does it faster.
Really. So, you know, after a few times of that, I decided I needed to learn. So actually I called my friend Henry Conley and said, Henry, how do you play this thing? And he showed me, and it was so much better than your basic, you know, hear the scales, do it, you know, like going into the teacher. It was going to Henry. So I'd say, Henry, how do you play this song? And it would be, you know, much better because I was learning to play songs instead of just learning about music. And so, geez, that was 15 years ago.
Wow. And what a guitar player. Henry Conley, who is a veteran of this show.
Yeah.
Now, before we go into one of your songs, we have the most important question of the entire show. And, you know, civilizations are built on this question. Elvis or the Beatles?
Oh, wow. Can you pick both? Is that possible? I love all kinds of music. And wow, man, I don't know. All right, I'm going to pick Elvis.
Elvis. Wow. We don't get a lot of those. However, there's no wrong answers, and technically he picked both. So awesome. Let's check out one of Joe's songs. We'll be right back right after this.
Here's a song I've written recently called A Bigger Plan. Looking down on tiny towns and windy rivers flowing by. It seems so small when I can see it all, and I realize as I cry, there's a bigger plan for me. Then I touch the earth, I feel the dirt, I count the ants as they march by. And the more I dig, it seems so big, and I realize as I cry, there's a bigger plan, there's a bigger plan for me. Like a rock dropped in the water causes ripples in the sea. Sing into the darkness, be a light for all to see. 'Cause your life is tied to other lives. ways that'll never show. Just seek your truth and live out loud, and you will come to know. There are little seeds and massive trees and snow-capped mountains to the sky. There are grains of sand and oceans grand, and a bigger plan for you and I. There's a bigger plan, yes, a bigger plan will make a better man. As a better man, I can take my stand to be a better man with a bigger plan. Yeah, there's a bigger plan for me.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest, Mr. Joe McClure. So Joe, tell me a little bit about leading up to and what you've got going on today and what brought you to it.
Well, today my current big project is to work on my second CD. I released my first CD, I guess it was June 3 years ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And basically writing songs with the second CD in mind. And so writing is a little different process from performing, just in the sense that to write, I don't know about all songwriters, but I have to be in a special place mentally and emotionally to write.
Right.
And it's hard to find that place sometimes. Sometimes it comes on you and you never even knew it was coming. But so I've been writing a lot. I've been traveling out west some and spending some time in Colorado and playing around town when I'm in town. I try to make it a point to get out to the open mics and play at the Loft. And like you just said, I've got a busy week this week.
Yeah. Just wondering if you can get it all done today.
Maybe we'll hear that song.
Now, tell me a little bit about your travels out west. I noticed, on Facebook you post statuses, you send pictures from way out there somewhere. So tell me about some of those trips that you take. What are you doing?
Well, it's a beautiful country, and people talk about traveling and seeing the world, and I think there's so much in America that why. I mean, I'm not ready to bother with the passport. I just need to see the U.S. I've spent a lot of time in Colorado, a place called Telluride, which is beautiful in the winter and the summer.
Wow.
My son, last year last March, moved to Boise, Idaho, which is a long way for your kid to be from you. Yeah. And so that's a great excuse to go out west. Idaho's a beautiful place. It's a really beautiful state. But just driving to Idaho is, it's really neat. There's beautiful country out there. It's grassland. There's huge, big rocks and other mountains. And, I spent a lot of time in the North Georgia mountains. And I always thought Colorado would be the place to be. And there's nothing like a 12,000-foot peak.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's pretty out there. And and also in traveling, you meet people. We stopped and saw a sunset in Oregon, a place called Tillamook Bay. And there's a guy there driving this what used to be a school bus, but now it's painted Jesus Saves, and he's just going up and down the coast selling T-shirts for Jesus. Wow. And he's out there playing his guitar while we watched the sunset, and it was just very cool. So hopefully that song will get written.
Very cool.
But it's a neat country out there. I love traveling.
Now, I have always loved the West. I grew up reading Louis L'Amour westerns, and I love that part of the country. I've never been, but I love that part of the country. You ever, and a question that I don't know how relevant it is to the show, but it's very relevant to me. Ever visit any ghost towns while you're out there? Old western towns?
Yes. There are some. There's a lot of them around Telluride, because it's an old mining area, and it's very hard to make money mining these days.
Yeah.
So there's 2 or 3 ghost towns that I've been to out there. They're just old buildings. They're just still sitting there, but nobody's living there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of strange, and you know they're kind of, some of them starting to fall down. And they make for some good pictures and some really neat exploration.
That's really awesome. Going back a little bit, tell me about your first CD, which we're going to pimp in a little bit, but tell me about your first CD.
First CD is called Let My Life Be a Song. The title came from a song I wrote basically as a prayer for direction in my life. And as I wrote it, I realized it was a song. And it's basically a collection of songs that I had written the previous probably 4 or 5 years. It's got Christian music, it's got country music, it's got rock music, it's got music I don't know how to identify.
Yeah, best kind.
Which is sort of a problem as an artist. You know, people want to say you're country or you're pop or you're rock, and I just write songs, and the song tells me what it is. And if it's, you know, maybe it's because I like all kinds of music, but that's kind of the way the album turns out. So. And
you know, as a listener, you know, I've listened to a lot of different types of music, and as a listener, I am that's the sort of thing that I like. And you know, I've got to be representative of a lot of different people. You know, everybody likes. There's a whole bunch of people behind them liking the same thing. You know, so I think that is, rather than putting it. I mean, and there's definitely a place for the country, the rock, the gospel. But I really like things that cross genres and are a little hazy as to what they actually are. I think that is good art, good strong art.
Yeah, some of my songs on the CD are even a little Pink Floydish, and
nice.
Get out in the ethereal range. And
that's cool.
And you know, this was my first CD, so I went out to produce a for real, highly produced CD. I mean, I've got strings from the Columbus College string people, and had a lot of help from Justin Ballou, and
nice.
Who plays like 500 instruments. He's obviously talented. And just went out to make a real, you know, you can take this song and put it on the radio type type CD. I may not produce my second CD as much, just to give it a different feel, a different experience. But this one's got the strings and the drums and the cellos and the whatever I felt the song needed.
Now, 2 questions. One, let's just say you're walking around the house on a Sunday afternoon drinking a glass of tea or whatever it is that you drink. What is most likely to be playing on your 8-track, cassette, record player, CD, or MP3 player? Covered all generations.
You got it all covered there. Wow, you know, I like Pandora because I can get a mix of things I haven't heard. Sean Mullins is one of my favorites. He's my hero. There's liable to be anything on it. I mean, I like I say, I like it all. It can be, if it's on a Sunday, I play in church a lot on Sunday, and it tends to be more Christian music, just because that's kind of where my head is. But a Saturday night would be a whole different thing. Might be Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or the Black Keys is my favorite new group. They rock.
Cool. Nice.
Awesome.
A little bit of where he comes from musically. Now, where would you like to see your music go? Looking down the road, and you know, as you look down the road, you envision, I want to be there. Where would you like your music to go? Where would you like to take it?
Well, I'd just like for my music to be heard by as many people as we can have it heard by. There is a limit in my age and my energy. I don't think as an artist I'm going to be famous. I don't think I'm going to be running around with Justin Bieber or anything. But, you know, I'd love to do Good Morning America.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, you know, you know, I'd like to meet Kelly someday.
Yeah.
But, and she hangs out in Telluride a lot. So.
Oh, really? Very cool. So the chances are
So it may
there.
not, I may not be on her show. I don't get to meet her. But I just want it to be heard. You know, I'd love for some famous artist to cut some of my songs or something like that. That'd be the easiest way for my music to be heard. But, you know, right now nobody else wants to, so I'm playing my own songs and getting them out there and getting them heard.
I feel you, brother. But, you know, don't count yourself out yet. Have you seen the Rolling Stones lately? Tell you what, let's check out some more Joe's song, music, and we'll be right back right after this.
This is called Going Back to Georgia. Snow on my shoes this morning, sweat on my brow tonight. I'm going home to see my baby, everything's gonna be alright. 'Cause I'm going back to Georgia, where the air's heavy, humid and hot. I'm going back to Georgia, where I am loved a lot. I'm going back to Georgia, where music's in the air. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, folks I love are there. I'm leaving Colorado sunshine, skies a deep rich blue, home to dogwoods and pollen, grandkids and I love yous. 'Cause I'm going back to Georgia, where the air's heavy, humid and hot. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, where I am loved a lot. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, where music's in the air. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, folks I love are there. Where the mountains in the north slow down to the red clay hills, the chirp of the katydid, whistle of the whippoorwill, sitting on the porches in art form, waiting on nightfall of pleasure, eating a Dinglewood hot dog, talking to grandma a treasure. 'Cause I'm going back to Georgia, where the air's heavy, humid and hot. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, where I am loved a lot. I'm going back to Georgia, where music's in the air. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, folks I love are there. Yes, I'm going back to Georgia, folks I love are there.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Minstrels on the Block. Special guest, Mr. Joe McClure. This is the section where we like to pimp stuff. So this is the shameless promotion section of the show. So, Joe, I see here that, as we have talked about earlier, we have a CD of yours, and tell everybody where they can find this. I mean, obviously, you got hard copies.
Let's see. You can find me, and you can find CDs. I always have some. They're also on sale at Dinglewood Pharmacy. They're on sale at Everything Musical. and Gorilla Guitars. That's where you can go buy a hard copy. You can also get one at CD Baby or iTunes.
Nice.
Or you can go to my website, which is joesongs.net, and just click on the icon, and I think it'll take you to CD Baby, or it takes you somewhere where you can buy a CD.
Which is all you need to know.
That's right. And occasionally I'll have T-shirts or something
very cool.
that say Joe Songs on them.
Nice.
At gigs and stuff. So that's a limited run, so they're collector's items, of course.
Get yours. Be sure to get it soon. Now, a couple of things. One is, where can they find you online?
Well, that would be joesongs.net, which is a website I've been working on more lately than before. And Sean Rocks designed it.
Oh, very cool. Does good work.
Yeah, and it's you know, for me, it's the real deal. So I'm impressed with the work he's done on it.
Very cool. And you're on Facebook?
Yes, I am on Facebook, although I don't have like the musician page
I don't
thing
know.
on Facebook. I haven't figured that out yet. But Facebook, you know, it's just, actually it's Joseph W. McClure. And that's my online. I don't do the Twitter thing.
Right.
I don't know how.
I've got a Twitter account that drifts out at sea somewhere. Now, have any shows coming up?
Let's see. We'll be at the Cattlemen's Association as this airs. I've got lots of gigs this week, but they're like tonight. So, and this won't air till
For you,
Thursday.
that's sometime before.
Yeah. So let's see. Next week at the Loft, I'm hosting, but we'll have Rebecca Harris and friends, and I'll be one of her friends.
Cool.
The week after that, Wednesday at the Loft, it'll be Joe McClure and friends again, and we'll be doing sort of an open mic style, and
Very cool.
have people doing Christmas songs or original songs. So.
Very nice. And what's the date for that?
That is the 19th.
19th of December. Joe McClure and friends at the Loft. Now, there's a couple of questions I'd like to ask. I like to get input from each individual singer-songwriter that comes on the show and get a good wide variety of points of view and answers. One is, what do you think of the local music scene in the Valley?
I think there's incredible talent in this area. I have lots of friends in music in this area, and hopefully I'm making more every week. And I'm always impressed with the songwriters in particular, the songs and the music they come up with. I love music in this area, and you know, I hope that it's also a pretty good community. Most of the people I know are working hard at it, and they help each other. Just like this. I mean, you guys are all musicians, and I love hearing y'all play and love hearing your songs, and it's always a pleasant surprise to me. So,
We appreciate it.
you know. And this is the same gripe I bet you get every time, but you know, we never get paid enough.
That was my next question.
But you know, it's a cross between, do I want to sing for people or do I want to get paid? And sometimes that's what it comes down to.
Well, the common answer too on the show is you better be having a good time and not be in it for the money. Because if you're in it for the money and you're not having a good time, then you're in the wrong line of work.
Yeah, I keep saying it'd be nice if you could make money doing this, but.
How do you think the scene as a whole could be improved?
The music scene, how can it be? Well, you know, I think there's a lot of people working to improve it. I think you and Rusty are working to improve it. I think Nona Christie does a lot of work to improve it. I think Buddy does a lot of work to improve it. Although he's been criticized because he'll bring in people from out of town and pay them. But, you know, there's good music out of town too. So, and there's a general thought that, or people tend to think that you have to be from out of town to be an expert or to be good. Mm-hmm. And they say that about, you know, speakers and also about musicians. If you're
prophet's never known in his own land.
Exactly. I like it. That's good. We're going to write a song about that. So I think, you know, we all continue to work together. I think Sean Rocks is doing some cool things with his Junk Fest deals.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's putting together some drum circles and stuff. That's a lot of fun that gets everybody involved.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I know I shouldn't say this. Everybody can't play the drums, but everybody can have fun playing the drums. So that's a fun thing for everybody to do.
Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff for people out there in TV land. We do have a vibrant music scene in the Valley area, so you owe it to yourself to come out and check out what's going on. And if you're not sure what's going on, watch my show. Now, a last question for people sitting out there, maybe with a guitar in their lap. As a music show, so I always talk about aspiring artists, but you know, somebody with a canvas and a paintbrush, somebody with any kind of art that you can imagine, what advice would you give to aspiring artists watching the show? Maybe they haven't started yet, maybe they have, they're not sure.
Keep doing it. Just keep doing it. You know, you have people who go, oh, I couldn't sing for anything. I can't, you know, carry a tune in a bucket. Well, I think everybody has some art in them. Mm-hmm. And they just don't know it. And they need to discover themselves, discover their art, and not worry about it if it's any good or not. Mm-hmm. Because that's the hardest thing to get past. Well, that sucks, so I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah. And that's a really hard thing for an artist to get past. Yeah. But I just say do it. And I've got a little thing that I came up with. I was in Nashville. I was about to play an open mic in Nashville, and I was scared to death. I was petrified. And I wrote this down. I said, if it scares you, do it.
Yeah.
And if it scares the hell out of you, do it now.
Yeah, before you change your mind.
Yeah. So I fully believe that. If it scares you, it's something you need to face and you need to go do.
Oh, totally. Well, Joe, you've made some really good points. It's been a great interview. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm glad we finally got you on.
Thanks, me too.
We've been thinking about him for quite a while now, and we finally managed to get him in here. Hope you've enjoyed this episode of Minstrels on the Block with special guest Joe McClure, excellent singer-songwriter. Check out some of his shows, some of his stuff down at the Loft he's got going on. Get a CD. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'm your host, Brian Mallard. See you next time on CTV EA.
This is a song called Get It All Done Today. Well, I'm sitting here thinking my mind is racing with the things I need to do. I gotta get this, do that, pay the man, and send my kids on off to school. I got stuff to pick up, I got stuff to drop off, I got stuff to leave along the way. I got stuff to eat, and I got stuff I need, and I got stuff for another day. It seems that life can go by so fast. If I could find a way to make it last. Oh, get it, move it, do it, pay it, work it, eat it, chew it, screw it, get it all done today. If I could get it all done today. I got doctors saying I need surgery, but I just don't have the time. I got songs to write, I got words to sing, if I could only make them rhyme. I got vitamins to keep my energy up, pills to keep the swelling down. I got another one for heartburn, one that goes round and around and around. It seems that life can go by so fast. If I could find a way to make it last. Oh, get it, move it, do it, pay it, work it, eat it, chew it, screw it, get it all done today. If I could get it all done today. Now I need to take the time to make the time to live a little every day. Yeah, if I could just hurry up and relax, well then I could get on my way. It seems that life can go by so fast. If I could find a way to make it last. Oh, get it, move it, do it, pay it, work it, eat it, chew it, screw it, get it all done today. If I could get it all done today, yeah, life would sure be okay. If I could get it all done today, yeah, if I could just hurry up and relax, well then I could get on my way.